Sup guys, and I'm here to talk about something very exciting coming up. The release of Captain America Civil War. Now, I haven't actually seen this movie yet, as I'm planning on seeing it the day that this video is going to come out, like the Thursday night, because I get exclusive movie screenings. No, I'm just kidding. Maybe one day. My movie theater airs movies the day early for some reason, though I think most do. Anyway, I digress. So the point is, I'm here to talk about Civil War, but not actually the movie itself, because I haven't actually seen it yet. I probably won't do a video like Batman vs. Superman where I talk about my thoughts on the movie, because it's going to be awesome, and I really don't feel like doing a video on it. Instead, I'm going to talk about what I can right now. Things leading up to it. I'm not sure if you know this, but Marvel movies tend to be divided into certain phases. Two phases currently. Phase 1 was Iron Man to the Avengers. Phase 2 was Iron Man 3 to AntMan. And Civil War is the beginning of Phase 3. So I think this is the perfect time to go through my thoughts of each movie leading up to it. But I'm gonna probably make these like brief and concise because I could really talk about this for like hours. But I'm just gonna make it like maybe a minute or two on each, maybe even less. Another thing is I actually have a fresh memory of all the movies because when I was in South Africa at the end of last year, I decided to rewatch all of them. So I probably have a better memory of it so I can have more of an opinion of it. So that should be interesting. Okay, let's start with Iron Man 1. Iron Man 1 is probably my second favorite. You'll see what my favorite is later. Because of just how incredible it was. When I first watched it, I loved it, but then I rewatched it later on, and I was like, but then I rewatched it again, I'm like, oh my god, this movie is amazing. Like, it has one of the coolest origin stories to, like, any superhero ever. He gets kidnapped by freaking terrorists. You have this big shot billionaire who gets kidnapped by terrorists, and the plot is kind of a bit silly, but it's just so fun to watch. It's just such an enjoyable film. Like, it's action-packed, it has great story, great characters. Robert Downey Jr. is actually a really solid actor. He's not my favorite in the cinematic universe like most people think, but he is the face of it, and you can see why. The first Iron Man is such a great movie. You don't understand. The villain is a bit weak, but that's every villain except for Loki is weak, so that's besides the point. And I thought the climax was kind of a bit lame. It's just two guys going at each other over a building. But up until when they start fighting, the movie was solid. Then it just gets a little bit worse, but it's still a really good movie. The Incredible Hulk. I don't really like this movie, but it's not a type that I can go on and on about. I just didn't like it. I thought it was kind of like a lot of people accuse Marvel movies of kind of being the same thing over and over again with nothing too special or great to separate them or stand apart. And Incredible Hulk is like the epitome of that statement. It's really just like a by the numbers, bare bones plot about a Hulk. Nothing too special, nothing too great. Tim Roth was kind of silly. Edward Norton was okay. But the whole movie just, wasn't that great. Iron Man 2 I think is a sorely underrated movie. Sure, it's kind of bad, but it's not terrible. I mean, like, the villain was terrible, but again, every villain is terrible except for Loki. And the plot kind of doesn't go nowhere, it's in circles a lot, but one thing I liked about the movie is it had a lot of energy. It was pretty much just improv by all the actors, which I think gave it a special spark. It was just really fun to watch. It's stupid, it has a terrible plot, but there's just something about it that I enjoy. I think it's mainly the improv, and also it just has a lot of energy, which is why I like it. The action's also really good too, except for the action is really good. The fight in the forest was lame when Whiplash shows up. That was defeated in like 2 seconds. But like when they were fighting all the Ironmans are coming at it, that was also really awesome. And seeing how Tony and Rhodey worked together was great. And I think Don Cheadle is way better than Terrence Howard as a Rhodey, because Terrence Howard was kind of stiff and boring. Don Cheadle's more loose and has fun, which is why I enjoy him a lot more. Thor is also a sorely underrated movie. That's actually one of my, like, it's not like Iron Man 2, which everyone hates, but I like it. I think Thor is a movie everyone thinks is okay. I think it's incredible. Thor is just magnificent. It's a bit cliche and standard, but I feel it's one of the only Marvel movies that tells a solid character journey, how a character grows and changes over time. I mean, the other ones do, but it's not as significant as Thor, how is this cocky asshole learns to chill out and get his worthy. Again, again, it's a bit cliche. It's kind of like a typical archetype, but I still enjoy that. There's some cliches and some stories that get recycled that I still really enjoy, and the soundtrack is magnificent. Like, there's this one theme that keeps playing. It's just such a great theme. I think it has a magnificent soundtrack. Even Thor II has a really good soundtrack, but more on that later, or should I say, Thor on that later. Moving on, Captain America 1 is also an underrated movie. But also, because I think this movie is one of the best Marvel movies out there. I think it's better than Avengers, better than, yeah, I guess the only, like, thing that everyone loves, I think, is better than Avengers, like, because it's not as good. Anyway, off topic. Captain America 1, again, it's also like Thor, where it's really cliche and silly, but Steve Rogers is such a great, great character. He's probably my favorite character in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and it's just so much fun seeing him fight, and, like, it's not like he's not like cocky like Tony. He's like one of the few main characters that's like earnest and good and nice, but doesn't feel too like perfect about it. Like, sure, he's perfect, but he has his problems. And the film does a good job like making you feel sorry for him and not just being like, ugh, this guy is like Gary Stu. No, it's actually a really good movie. It has a great story, a great action. Like, I don't get why people hate this. It's actually a really, really, really good film. Avengers 1. Avengers 1 is good, but I don't see why it's special. Like, everyone, like, started loving the Marvel Cinematic Universe and bandwagoning it when Avengers 1 came out. That's when it really blew up, but Avengers 1 was okay to me. Like, it was great. It was fun. It had a lot of jokes. It was funny, but the story was pretty basic. It was just an alien invasion. Loki was kind of annoying in that movie. And whenever they try to tell a story or lore or anything, it was kind of uninteresting. Like, and you can really divide it into 3 sections. The beginning, then the part where they're on the ship, then the Battle of New York. And none of it really stood out. It's a good, fun film, but when people say the Marvel Cinematic Universe is kind of like it's just fun, action, not really story, that's the Avengers, really. The Avengers was okay. Like, what's so great about it? Iron Man 3 was absolute garbage. I don't know why, but 2013 movies were absolute trash. Iron Man 3 and Thor 2 are 2 terrible, terrible, terrible movies. Iron Man 3, they decided to course correct from Iron Man 2. They didn't make it stupid, they had more of a character, but they took out the energy. There was no energy in this movie. There was no sense of fun or adventure. And like, but the problem is it wasn't serious either. It had a lot of stupid jokes, but it didn't feel fun. Like, how do you do that? If you want to tell a serious story and suck out the fun, fine, by all means. But don't tell a stupid story with some terrible forced jokes and no energy. There's no fun in it. Like, it had jokes, but it's no fun. I don't get it. The villain was terrible as well. Like, Iron Man 3 was way worse than Iron Man 2. Because Iron Man 2 had energy. Iron Man 3 was just terrible. Thor 2, oh my god. Thor 2, I can go on and on and on about how trash it is. Thor 2 is the genuine only Marvel movie that I think is a bad film. It's down there for me with like Spider-Man 3, Amazing Spider-Man 2, X-Men Origins Wolverine. This movie, I felt like was some guy being tasked to make a Thor movie, but he had no idea to make a Thor movie, so he was just like, throw jokes in there. Naked old guys running around, that's hilarious. Oh my god, it's just, the movie was terrible. The villain was easily the worst Marvel villain ever. He wasn't even a character. He was just an obstacle. He didn't talk. He was so boring. When I rewatched it without, there's no subtitles. And so he was talking, I couldn't understand what the villain was saying. When I looked up to see what he was saying, and someone asked about this, the first comment was, it doesn't matter, this guy sucks anyway. He's so boring. He just says generic evil stuff like, we'll take over Asgard and stuff like that. The only thing I liked was the soundtrack was great, just like Thor 1, and also Loki was amazing in the movie. There was a part of Thor 2 where I was like, okay, this isn't so bad. And that's when Thor busted out Loki. Then it became like a fun film when you saw the brotherly banter between Thor and his brother, which I think is great. But the problem with that is Loki leaves like maybe like an hour after that, so you don't get much of him and Thor together, which is a bit disappointing in my opinion. That was the only part of the movie that I thought worked. The on-Earth stuff was really terrible. Like with that Darcy, she was annoying as hell. The comedy was like more forced than ever. It felt like juvenile comedy, like someone trying to make a Thor movie but didn't know how. Winter Soldier is like probably the Okay, so it's weird. Avengers is considered the best by like the mass audience, but Winter Soldier, like from the fans, like the true like fans, a lot of people consider the best, and I honestly completely agree with them. This movie is perfect in my opinion in terms of what a superhero movie should be. It didn't have a basic story. It had actually a really good story. It felt like a legitimate spy thriller, which was what I liked. I also liked how they put Captain America, this like soldier, in a spy world, and seeing how he adapted and changed, and he learned things aren't perfect like the way he wants to. It told a really good story about him, which was kind of subtle. And the Hydra twist was great. That's what everyone loves about it. But I thought the only problem with it, I thought the Hydra twist was done a bit too early, so it kind of like took away the impact of the twist. If they made it more like mysterious towards for the whole movie, then revealed the Hydra twist in the third act, it would have been like even better. But the movie was still like amazing in my opinion. Like again, I just loved how they took Steve Rogers and put him in a world where he doesn't belong. It was literal a fish out of water story, which I thought was great. Guardians of the Galaxy is probably the funniest Marvel movie out there. Avengers was also really funny, but it was a bit too reliant on snark, while Guardians of the Galaxy had like a variety of sense of humor, and it was just like overall really enjoyable. It also has probably besides like Steve Rogers, Guardians is my favorite characters of all the movies. Like my top 5 goes like Steve Rogers, Groot, Rocket, Star-Lord. The only weakness was Gamora because she was kind of there. But the other characters were fantastic, and that's what made the movie for me. The plot was a bit weak and bare bones, but the characters made up for me. And to be honest, characters and enjoying the people you watch is way more important than what they do. Avengers 2 was such a weird opinion on. When I first saw it and critics hated it, I was like, oh my god, this movie is amazing. Why do people hate it? But then I rewatched it and I realized it was really stupid. There were a lot of problems with it. The main thing is you could tell like the battle between Joss Whedon and Marvel, what they wanted the movie to be. Joss Whedon wanted to tell like a story. Marvel wanted it to be like Infinity Stones, action everywhere. So it kind of felt like this weird balance to me that didn't quite work. I'm fine with a movie just going all out with its action. I'm also fine with a movie having a deep story. But if it doesn't know what it is, that's the biggest problem in my opinion. Ultron was also kind of terrible. I couldn't really take him seriously at all. Like, he was supposed to be this threatening robot, but he just got beat up a lot. He wasn't interesting either. He was kind of funny, I guess, but I just loved it at the beginning because I thought I didn't like Avengers that much, so I thought it had a better story than Avengers, but I also had more problems with Avengers. That's my problem. And Ant-Man is the perfect definition of a Marvel movie playing it safe. It's pretty much recycling Iron Man, but the thing is, it worked a lot, and it didn't really not work a lot. The problem with Ant-Man was it was too safe, in my opinion. The jokes were really funny. Michael Pena, I think that's how you pronounce his name, Michael Pena or Michael Pena. He was hilarious. Everything he said was really funny. And one thing I do like about Ant-Man is watching how he uses his powers was great. Like, he's probably my favorite superhero in terms of what he could do. Like, the situations he's put in is great. Like, the part where, like, he shrinks for the first time and he goes down a bathroom drain and all that was amazing. And the climax was probably the best climax of any Marvel movie because of what you can do with his powers of shrinking and growing and stuff like that. But again, it was a bit too safe and it's kind of unmemorable in my books. So that's all I have to say about the Marvel Cinematic Universe. It was pretty vague and bare bones, but if you want to know more about it or want to talk about more with me, voice your opinion in the comments. I'd love to discuss what I think of it. But that's all for now, and hopefully Civil War will be fantastic. Later.